What is up, everybody? It's Cobes here, and today I am back with a Fortnite video. In today's video, I will be going over every single vaulted item, and I'm going to rank them from worst to best. It's not from worst to best in the conventional sense, like how good or bad these items are. This is going to be how much I miss these items. So at the top of the list is going to be the items I really want back in the game. The bottom of the list is going to be the items I just don't care about. They can stay out of the game for the rest of my life. We will be starting out at the number 26 spot, guys, and honestly I don't think this one's controversial at all. I feel like everyone will agree. The chillerz, one of the worst and ugliest items we've ever gotten into this game. I feel like no one really understood why they came out when they did. They were just a random item that nobody really wanted, no one asked for, and when they came out, people tried them out, but after that, I swear, people would drop them from their inventory just to not accidentally place them mid-battle. That's how bad these items were. They were decent for rotation, I'll give them that, but it still took a little bit too long to set them up. And even if you did set them up and you were going down a hill or something, the chances of you being shot, I mean, they just increased. Once you're in those things, it seems like people just knew and they just started spraying, and then you're screwed. I really dislike this item. I feel like a lot of people do as well. This one shouldn't be controversial. Moving on to my number 25 spot, I had to give it to the semi-auto sniper. One of the worst guns in this game. You could hit headshots with this gun and still not get kills. That is the most mind-boggling thing in my life. I know it's a gun that you're supposed to be able to shoot fast, but in this game, it doesn't really matter if you shoot something fast, especially a sniper that still takes maybe a second or two to shoot again. Someone's gonna build in time, and if they don't build, well, you're still gonna get the kill regardless of what gun you have. If you have any AR, you're still gonna get a kill even if the player is not moving. The semi-auto sniper, just one of the most useless items. If you hit someone twice in the body with a sniper, it's really demotivating if you don't get the kill, you know what I mean? And that's how the semi-auto sniper was and is, and that's why it's in the vault. It's gonna be in the vault forever, I hope. Moving on to my number 24 spot, I had to give it to the smoke grenade. And honestly, thinking about it right now, in competitive games, I feel like the smoke grenade may have some competitive viability. But in regular pub matches, I just don't see the case of smoke grenades being good. But I do think it would be interesting to see them in competitive games. Would people pick them up? I think people may for that late game rotation. It would be really fun to see them back in the game just for competitive. But in regular pubs, for me, I would never pick up the item unless I had to, and I would never actually use these items. Maybe to throw them at my friends, sort of like a boogie bomb. But honestly, guys, I don't really see the point in smoke grenades. They're just not very useful. Moving on to my number 23 and my number 22 spot, I had to give it to the ceiling trap and the wall dynamo. These are both zap traps, as I like to call them, because basically you'd go into a building, or right before you go into a building, or if you're in a building, someone places it down, you're gonna hear zzz, zzz, zzz. You obviously know not to go in that direction because there's a zap trap or a wall dynamo. It's so obvious where these are. They're very easy to destroy. I will admit though, as of right now, it would be pretty funny to see them in pub games because I feel like a lot more people actually trap their enemies than before. You know, when these were first implemented, people would just place them down in the spawn building or keep them for later or never use them. So I feel like it would be pretty funny to see in pub games as of right now, but I think they still are useless because we do have conventional traps. I just don't see the point in them as of right now. I don't think I ever will see a point in them. I don't think they need to be back in the game. Let's move on to my number 21 spot, the guided missile. This is basically an item that you're just a sitting duck if you're using. If you actually want to use this item, well, good luck having someone not run up to you and kill you for the free easy kill. It is fun in high explosives to use, but other than that, in regular pub matches, you're just not going to use this item, and if you do, you're a sitting duck. I don't think we need it back. I don't want it back personally. Moving on to my number 20 spot, I had to give it to the OG submachine gun. This had a little bit too much bloom and recoil for my liking. I don't like using this gun because especially during the time when it was out, you would get one pumped if you tried to shove it down someone's throat. and that's really the only way you'd be able to get kills with this gun because of its insane recoil and bloom. You could shoot someone at a medium distance, but at the distance where you're doing like consistent damage, where you're hitting your shots, you still would get blasted with the shotgun for at least 100 damage. There's no doubt in my mind. I feel like this just does not belong in the game, and I feel like it was fun at the time because players were a lot worse. You might not have gotten one pumped every time, you know, back in the day, but trust me, people would hit those wicked one pump lucky shots, and they would probably kill you before you would be able to do enough damage to kill them with this gun. Moving on to my number 19 spot, I had to give it to the crossbow. The crossbow was very fun to use, and I would always get into battles where someone else was using the crossbow, I was using it as well. We both had 4 other guns, or at least 3 other guns, but we said screw it, we're only gonna battle with the crossbow. I feel like that's the integrity that made Fortnite so amazing. If you just used a semi-auto sniper against someone else with a semi-auto sniper, even though you had other guns, that's what makes Fortnite fun. That's what makes Fortnite respectable. That's what makes players respectable. But no one would ever do that. People are way too sweaty as of right now. The crossbow, it couldn't survive in today's meta. Moving on to my number 18 spot, I had to give it to the suppressed SMG. If you want to use the suppressed SMG, you really have to use it at a medium range. It wasn't as good. Close range is another SMG. You could use it in its place if you didn't have anything else, but I feel like this gun definitely has a story that Fortnite is based on. So first, the gun was bad. Next, they buffed the gun, but it was too good. Then they nerfed it again where nobody used it because it wasn't good enough again, and then they vaulted it. That's how I feel like so many guns in this game end up being, and that's basically the story of Fortnite. It's not good enough, or it's too good, and then they nerf it, or they buff it so it's decent, and then they nerf it. At the end, they're nerfed to crap, and then they take them out. Moving on to my number 17 spot, I had to give it to the dual pistols. These had one of the craziest blooms in the game, but they were fun to use. Epic did hit it with a nerf that basically took them out of the game. They made them unviable, but when they were somewhat decent, I actually did like using them. I felt like they were a fun gun to use, and they were good at a time, but they were nerfed and then they were taken out. What a shocker. Moving on to my number 16 spot, I had to give it to the Infinity Blade, and I will be honest, I was never able to actually use this in a public game because I was on vacation when season 7 started, but I did see a ton of gameplay of this weapon. It was insanely fun to watch, and I'm assuming it was a weapon that you hated to go against, but you loved to use. I feel like maybe it could make a reappearance in game, but if they nerf it to crap, then no one's gonna use it. I feel like keeping it vaulted is definitely the safe move. I do want to try it out though, and I want to try it out in a public game. It was fun to see in competitive, just seeing someone get absolutely destroyed, seeing pros getting destroyed and demolished. That is pretty funny, but I feel like it deserves to be in the vault. I know that. Moving on to my number 15 spot, I had to give it to the OG Revolver. This was a great gun at the time. You know, it wasn't great, but it was fun to use at the very least. I feel like as of right now, the hand cannon is just too good. It's too viable for me to really care that the Revolver is gone. I love the hand cannon. If they ever nerf it, I'm gonna actually be upset. Hand cannon, easily the better of the 2 weapons. I would say the Revolver, it had its time and place, but that time and place is gone. I still do miss it, I still do like it, and I liked it during the time it was out. Moving on to my number 14 spot, I had to give it to the light machine gun. I feel like the light machine gun should have been in place of the minigun. The minigun should be vaulted, the light machine gun should be in its place. I feel like, hey, give it light ammo. If you really want to keep the light machine gun in the game, give it light ammo, take the minigun out of the game, make the light machine gun viable, because I don't think it's as OP as the minigun once was. It was super annoying to go against, don't get me wrong, but you could at least wait for them to reload that thing. It did take a very long time to reload the light machine gun, maybe like 5 seconds, maybe a little bit less, I can't remember exactly, but still, that's enough time for you to counter whoever's shooting at you with the light machine gun. I feel like the minigun's way more broken than the light machine gun ever could have been. Moving on to my number 13 and 12 spot, I gave it to two different items that are basically the same: the jump pad up and the jump pad directional. The jump pad directional was definitely better than the jump pad up, but I do like both of these items if you're trying to style on people and, you know, get those clips. If you like going for crazy shots, these are the items to use. I really do miss them. I honestly didn't use them much when I first played because I wasn't really good enough to use them. I wasn't good enough to actually place down these traps and use them efficiently. But I feel like as of right now, I'm decent enough where I could actually use these items and they would be fun. Moving on to my number 11 spot, I had to give it to the Portafort. I do miss the Portafort, honestly. Out of all these items below, I think it is an item I would actually use from time to time. And if I got 3, 4, 5 of those things in one match, it was actually fun to carry them around and throw them at myself, throw them on the ground, build up like 20 layers high. I felt like that was actually really fun. You can't really do that with the Portafortress. They're too rare. You can't stack them. I miss the Portafort. Moving on to my number 10 spot, I had to give it to the Clinger. I really do feel like the Clinger was at a balanced state when they nerfed it, and I would actually pick them up. If I could get 10 of those things, I would easily pick them up over Dynamite. That's just how I feel. I love the Clingers. I loved using them, and I feel like they weren't the most OP item, but I can admit, if you use Clingers and the hand cannon, that would be an OP combo, and I feel like Epic definitely knows that, and that's why they took them out of the game. They took them out of the game for many different reasons, but I could see them being OP in today's state. Alright guys, let's move on to my number 9 spot. I had to give it to the Jetpack. The Jetpack was one of those items I hated going against. It was super cheap, but I loved using it. You know, I think the Jetpack would be a horrible addition into Fortnite as of right now, but I still would love to see it, guys. I really would. Moving on to my number 8 spot, I had to give it to the Impulse Grenades, another sort of styling item that I just personally like. I have a fondness towards the Impulse Grenades, and I really wish they would come back to the game. It's one of those items that if you love it, great, you can pick them up. If you hate it, well, you don't really have to use it. To me, I think they are great items. I really wish they were back. Moving on to my number 7 spot, I had to give it to the Zapper Tron, guys. And I feel like the Zapper Tron was an item that not many of us were able to use, even if we did play in the time period when it was out. But I feel like they could bring it back in the unvaulted game and maybe, just maybe, spawn 1 or 2 per game. Don't spawn a ton of them, but at least give the people the chance to use the gun if they want to. I want to try it out. I know it was insanely OP. Maybe nerf it a little bit for the gameplay or the game mode. That would make people happy. Just let me try the freaking thing out, please. Moving on to my number 6 spot, I had to give it to the Tactical SMG. Honestly, in place of the regular SMG or the P90, I would say make the Tactical SMG epic and legendary. Take out the P90, give me back the Tactical SMG. It melted in game. It was such a fun gun to use. It did have a little bit of that bloom action that the regular OG SMG had, but the Tactical SMG was a shredder. I want it back in this game, guys. Honestly, the P90, I wouldn't even care if it was gone. It's not that great of a gun. Moving on to my number 5 spot, I had to give it to the C4. The C4 definitely was one of those broken items that I love to use. I hated going against C4, but I felt like I was able to counter C4 more than people were able to counter my C4. I could counter it, other people really couldn't counter mine. That's why I love this item so much. You really had to be a really good builder to be able to counter the C4, or at least know what you're doing, know how to counter it. And I felt like a lot of people just sat there, they're like, all right, I'm dead. Bye, it's C4. Maybe I sounded cocky there, but I just want C4 back. And I know, guys, they can't bring it back. They never will. And I understand that. I'm okay with it. But I still would like to see it back. Moving on to my number 4 spot, I had to give it to the Bouncer. I really don't understand why they took this out of the game. fast rotation. You could build a little bit higher and then bounce pad off if you really like were getting shot down. But now you can't really build very high in this game. You really can't. I mean, you can try to get into those wicked build battles, but if you do, you have to finish the enemy fast and get down quickly. But to me, the bouncers were great for that. You could actually build somewhat high in this building game and have some fun. Moving on to my number 3 spot, I had to give it to the drum gun. I absolutely love the drum gun, guys. I feel like everyone did. I hated the meta. I hated it. I hated C4s. I hated the drum gun. But it just really spiced up the game. It really did. It made it so, you know, shotguns were viable. SMGs were very viable. They are in today's meta, but not like they were in the drum gun meta. C4s were viable as well. There's so many different options you had. The drum gun was insanely fun to use, so OP, but honestly guys, if I could get it back, I would try it out for one day, see what the meta was like with today's players, and then I would see if maybe we should vault it or keep it in the game. But most likely it would end up me saying, you know, vault this gun, it's way too OP. Moving on to my number 2 spot, I had to give it to the shockwaves. Guys, the shockwaves were one of those items that I absolutely fell in love with. They're good if you want to box up. Let's say you're getting third party. You box up, you let the other people fight. If they come after you, you can shockwave away. You can get to the next position a little bit faster. It's good for rotating late game if you really don't have a grappler or maybe a jump pad. You know, there's so many different ways to use this item, and I feel like taking it out is just stupid. I don't know why. It's sort of like the bouncer. I'll never know why. It's not an OP weapon. It's not an OP item. I don't know why they took it out. Moving on to my number 1 spot, I had to give it to the double barrel. And honestly, I don't understand why they took this one out. It was my favorite item in this game to ever come out, honestly. And I severely miss it. I feel like the double barrel is one of those items you have to be somewhat gutsy to use. You have to shove it down people's throats. You have to get close enough to use this gun. You can't use it from any distance. You have to be in a 1x1 box to kill someone, basically. You can be a little bit further away, but you're not going to be able to kill them. You have to hit 2 very clean, precise shots to kill someone, or you have to back up and reload, or you might just be dead at that point. But double barrel, definitely that gutsy gun that you had to be in someone's throat to use. I don't understand why they took it out. Here, tell me if I'm wrong. The tac shotgun, the pump shotgun, the pump epic and legendary variant, which is, I would say, different than the uncommon and the blue, the green and blue variant. I would say that's different. Those are different from each other. But they're very similar. And then we have the heavy shotgun. So we have 4 different shotguns that are basically the same. Guess what they do? 4 out of 5. They take out the only one that's different. What? How does that make sense? All these other shotguns are basically replicas of each other. The tac shotgun's a little bit different than the pump shotgun, but not really. The double barrel's the only one that's severely different, and they take it out. I hate Epic Games. You know what? This video just pissed me off. What are you doing, Epic Games? Taking out my only gun, the only gun I really loved using, and we get 4 of the same guns. Wow, awesome. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. What is that one item that just pisses you off that Epic Games took out of the game? What is it? Tactical SMG? Is it a sniper? Is it the light machine gun? The infinity blade? Chillers maybe? Bouncers? What is it? Tell me in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.